3, 2, folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. So I met our next guest a couple of weeks ago at the reality show awards, and I was right next to her on the red carpet, and she was killing it on the red carpet. Like, she gets in there, she was like prepared for anything, and I was just like, I was watching like a goober to the right of her the whole time, but I was really impressed. And she has a daily podcast of her own. She has been in the industry in like for 20 plus years, but she covers on her show Bravo, Sister Wives, 90 Day Fiance, current pop culture events. I mean, she just had the two dudes involved in the Jussie Smollett case from years and years ago, if you remember. She kind of talks to everybody. So let's see what we get into today. Her podcast is called The Sarah Fraser Show. So welcome, Sarah Fraser. Welcome to the show.
Ryan Bailey, I love being here. And you were just on my podcast.
I was, yeah. Go listen to hers first. And that we did that last week. And I remember I said, I predict Teddy's going to move in with Kyle. And then literally that night, it got revealed that Teddy moved in with Kyle.
Okay, wait. So then, Ryan, I can't remember what you said, but did you say you think Teddy is coming back to RHOBH?
Well, I said, if Teddy moves in with Kyle, she's got to be coming back to Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because if not, are they going to have events over at Kyle's and Teddy's just going to be like peeking around corners because it's her house?
No, you're absolutely right. You're right. I think you're right. This is the biggest indicator that Teddy will be back.
Yeah. And and by the way, there is something innately comic to watch two single ladies on the prowl competing over like what Kimosabi hats to wear to events. And I would love to see like what kind of odd couple that is, or they're all going to compete to work out in Kyle's little home gym.
Yeah, right. I guess they all go to Equinox in Encino is apparently where they all head. But you know what? Yeah, those two gals single lifing it up. This could be very interesting.
Yeah, I would not. I think at some point people have just got to accept she's coming back to the show at some point. We have
to accept it. I'm usually not on the internet side, but I'm actually on the internet side about Teddy.
Not wanting Teddy back.
Yes. Stop making Teddy happen. Why do we have to?
But maybe, I'm not defending Teddy, but I will say it'll be interesting to see if she's changed at all, if she's a backseat driver still, or if she's just Kyle's friend that backs up Kyle, or if she actually has changed a little bit in the last couple of years, or how life's changed her. And especially with whatever happened in her relationship, that stuff will get brought out on the show immediately. And is she willing to talk about that honestly?
I know, that's the thing. That's where I'm like, I was with you until I think about that. And I don't know. If that is true, right? Where she was having this affair with a married man whose wife was pregnant. She has denied that she wasn't even in Florida when the woman gave birth. So, because there was that rumor that Teddy was with the guy the day that the woman gave birth. Completely false.
Yeah.
But to your point, is she going to go there? Because it's like, you're not going to win when you've had an affair with a pregnant woman's husband. It's
hard to win. Listen, I think it's hard to win in any relationship unless you are in high school, when you're first dating somebody, but once you get older, everything just seems to be a mess on top of a mess on top of a mess. And then these shows highlight that and thrive off that. We're seeing that on Beverly Hills right now with Kyle. And by the way, did you see the photos the other day of Kyle with Morgan Wade and Lisa Rinna of all people?
Yes. Oh my God. There's so many good combos, aren't there, of housewives out there? Yeah, I did.
I thought Morgan Wade was out of the picture and now she's still there.
I don't think Morgan's ever really been out of the picture. Do you? I just think they stepped back because they were getting so much press and there was this ambiguity to this day, right? Kyle will never admit, I guess, to this point, if they had a relationship or not. But she also said she had to sit her daughters down and talk about the situation, which to me implied that you're having these feelings for this woman. Otherwise, why is it a family meeting?
She won't admit to us. She might admit to people in her personal life.
Right. I don't think Morgan's ever been out of the equation. And did you see that picture a couple months ago where they were in Tennessee and Kyle and Morgan were at a TJ Maxx?
Kyle, this is what it's like to shop on a budget. Yeah.
Exactly. Except this one, we're not at Kimosabi. This
Yeah,
is like,
exactly.
where real people shop. Yeah, they were at TJ
Well,
Maxx.
you get a lot of the insider info on all this. Did you ever get anybody that told you what the actual deal with Kyle and Morgan is over these last couple of years?
Oh God, that's a great question. No, I don't think I have had anybody confirm. I have my own take. Just because I feel like I went to an all women's college. This is really, I don't know how I'm getting from A to B here, but anyhow.
Wow, you're about to reveal your own Morgan Wade story right now. I was involved with the country singer in college.
Let me tell you about the country singer I fell in love with.
I was with Shania Twain for 4 years in college.
Exactly, before she was on Ozempic. And, I liked her in all body shapes. No, I just know a lot of women that have been married to men and left their husbands like midlife and then been with women like the rest of their lives and very happy.
I think, by the way, I'd say it all the time. I'm shocked that all women aren't with women. Like the fact of how boneheaded honestly, like I get that, like, we have to help make the babies, like but other than that, I don't see a lot of upside for women being with guys because it just seems like it's just sadness and despair at a certain point. Like we create so much trauma for women that I'm shocked when everybody's not with women.
Okay, I don't believe that because first of all, you are one of the kindest, most open men. I am married
But
to
Sarah,
a
I
man
made
who's
my own.
like that.
I make mistakes. I've made mistakes all the time. Like but I'm aware that we're so doofy and we sometimes don't think things out logically. And then you see yourself represented on a Bravo show by Tom Sandoval or something, and you're like, oh my God, we're idiots. Which, by the way, I wanted to get your thoughts. Did you hear today? Tom Sandoval is he fired his lawyer. He's representing himself in the case against Rachel Leviss.
No, I actually think maybe you and I should text Juliette Harris, who's Rachel Levis's PR woman. She was just on my show.
She runs the pod now.
We should actually text her and find out. I mean, to me, this is like, okay, Rachel's just going to win, right? I mean, I am shocked. Okay, I have so many thoughts on this. First of all, why do you think he's doing this?
Well, part of me thinks that he might be like, money might be an issue.
That's what I thought too. I thought, oh my God, he's actually run out of money, I think. I think he's broke.
And I don't want to hit him while he's down, but at the same time, I don't think he's the most effective communicator. So it's almost like it's like a My Cousin Vinny situation. And he's like, what's up, dudes? What's up, the court? Yeah, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on this case. Like, what is he going to be? He's like, Rachel, dude, she's a temptress, court. Your Honor, she's a temptress. And what's he going to do? Is he going to cross-examine a witness?
Now he has the right to. I don't know. This is such a bizarre move to me. I mean, but I think to your point, this signals that he is out of money. I feel like he has no more money. And look, she has famously said that she doesn't want to settle this case, that it's not about money. This is what Rachel has said, that it's not about money. And when Juliette was on my show, she said she truly believed that if Ariana and Tom just went to Rachel, weapons down, and we're like, we're genuinely sorry. She actually thinks Rachel would drop it, that's all Rachel wants is an acknowledgement that they shared the video, that they're sorry, and they would move on. Okay.
But Sarah, I mean, do you really, if I was Ariana, I would not want to give Rachel ever an apology for the bullshit that she created, unless we still don't know the proof of how do they know if this video got sent around. Like, we know that Ariana had it, but Ariana, I think, holds true to the fact that she did not distribute it. Like, nobody said they've seen this video. So unless they have like hardcore data, in fact, I think Ariana offered to, like, here's my phone, go through it, do what you need to do. Why would Ariana ever, Tom might owe her some personal apologies, but Tom illegally made that video in the first place. I mean, I feel like that's the main wrong here, right? Did they prove distribution of this?
No, I mean, I think that's why they have the case or the trial, right? That they've got to, but also, don't you think they haven't been able to get this case dismissed? So doesn't that lead you to think that there's some evidence that there was sharing? Because if there was zero evidence, because Tom tried to get it thrown out, that it would be dropped? I don't know. I mean, look, I'm certainly not a lawyer. I get your point. I can't imagine Ariana ever going to the woman that blew up her 9-year relationship, the guy that she thought she was going to be with, and apologize. So I think you're absolutely right. We're not going to see that. First of all, Ariana has plenty of money now. She's worked for it. So she's fine. But no, this was very shocking. I think I did not expect him to do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it does fit into the pattern of Tom Sandoval doing really bizarre things. And then I was like, does he throw in some of his music during the court just to get publicity for his karaoke? Does he like, hear the classic from George Michael, Freedom? Like, does he sing during the trial? Like, I'm so confused at like how, I mean, now I kind of want to be in the courtroom just to see how this goes down.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, when does this go to trial? And will we be allowed? This one's one I want to go to. Yeah.
Well, by the way, now I'm pissed that Vanderpump Rules season 12 isn't airing. Wouldn't this be a great storyline of Tom Sandoval preparing to represent himself in court and like visiting lawyers and be like, what do you do on opening statements? Like, how do you do this?
Yeah. No, it would be so good. So good. I know.
So you've been doing this for 20 years. What does that mean exactly? You started in radio, or like what was the evolution of Sarah Fraser?
The evolution was morning radio. Even before that, I started in Washington, D.C. as a promo girl for a radio station. I gave out T-shirts. I went to car dealerships and, gave
Was
out
that a
magnets.
dream? Like, I want to be involved in radio, and that's why you did that?
Yeah. I've known since I was like 8 years old. I always wanted to be a talk show host. Always. I was obsessed with Sally Jesse Raphael. Talk about like aging and dating myself.
No.
Phil Donahue, Oprah, you and I were discussing our love for like old school Howard Stern when everybody listened back in the day. Howard, I couldn't get enough. I loved Robin. I loved when Artie Lang used to come.
Oh, the Artie chair.
It was the greatest comedy. So I always knew, and I've always liked the gossip of people. I think I try to find the line of like, I never want to like put out misinformation or hurt people, but I'm always interested in the tea. Like I love who's dating who cheated on who. I've always loved that. So I knew what I wanted to do. After college, I moved to DC. It was a big radio town back in 2005. And I was just a hustler. Like I went around to radio stations in person and I was like, are you hiring? I got hired in promotions for a little while. I would tell people I wanted to be on air. Eventually a producer left. I became an assistant producer, got fired from that job. I mean, every radio job I've ever had, for the most part, I've been fired from. And
you can't get fired from your own podcast.
I'm in a job. I finally have job security. Okay. Right. I guess, or if everyone stops listening, I'm toast, but mine is that. And I just worked my way up. And then I kind of got my break on this show called The Kane Show with a guy. He was from Florida, moved to DC, and we were a morning zoo. So if you ever listen to Elvis Duran, if you're from the New York area, it was very similar to that. And I was on there for almost 7 years and then did another 2-year stint on a show called Sarah Ty and Mel.
And then why did you move out of that and decide I want to go on my own?
So I knew radio was dying. It was like, by the time I left the business in 2015 and the last year, because Serial, the podcast, came out in 2011, I was obsessed, glued. And we would go out to events, and our audience was all women 25 to 45. And we'd ask these women, what do you listen to? What are you watching? And they were like, oh my God, I'm listening to this Serial podcast. I listen to NPR. And there just was something in my gut. I was like, okay, this is the kiss of death to radio. Like if people can listen on demand, like they can watch on demand, why are they going to be tuning in at 6 a.m. when they're literally going to have access to any type of pop culture show they want? So I got fired from that job. And I took my severance money and started a podcast 8 years ago.
God, I mean, it is interesting. Like when I first heard Serial as well, I was listening to This American Life, and it was this kind of different way to listen to things. And now it is so mainstream. But even like we were talking about last week, I still don't think podcasting gets any sort of the respect that it deserves. It gives a lot of opportunities for new voices, and I think especially female voices. But I still it is so spread out. I still feel like it's the Wild West in so many ways. But yeah, we listen to things completely different than when I was growing up and listening to like drive time radio. Or if if you had to listen for CERN like 6 to 10, if you missed it, you were screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was what your office talked about. I mean, that was what, was the conversation, right? That was where things were happening. And now it's a podcast interview. I mean, I think I've been so amazed at our business, how much though it's changed in the past 2 years. And I think this, I always say this, wherever your politics lie, this presidential election, I think podcasts became so legitimate. They tipped, I think, the election in the sense of like people going on them. And so I really do believe that the next decade is going to be probably the best 10 years of podcasting, because we're it for entertainment, news. Now people, you know, under the age of 40 are getting their news from us.
That's really scary. That's extremely scary in a lot of ways. Well, I mean, that's, you know, because I'm like, you know, trusted voices. Like, I mean, like, you know, I'll watch like Joe Rogan clips or something. And sometimes I'm just like, it feels like he's figuring this out. Like if he, and then he'll be like, he'll say something completely not true. And somebody will stop him and go, hey, that's not true, Joe. And he's like, really? Look it up. Look it up. And I'm like, you didn't look it up already? Like you have the highest downloads of any podcast, and you helped swing an election this year, and you don't know that's what scares me, is that these people that now we trust don't necessarily know the facts, but everybody trusts them. So whatever they say goes.
Well, you know, look, I worked for Fox 5 DC for many years as an entertainment contributor. And on a local level, I know how hard those reporters work to be accurate, to be authentic, to never embellish, to not have a political bias. But unfortunately, I think you've seen on a network level on all sides, they've lost the trust of people. And I think that's why people like yourself, myself, Joe Rogan, I think people would rather have somebody stop and say, look that up, Jamie, than they would, you know, a network that now they feel is just biased, right? And they're not even going to get the other side because that network has an agenda.
Now, I told you this last week, but I realized that you were the person that, I don't know, made the TikTok or the Instagram, because you were on the first day of something about her sandwiches. And I this was like national news all of a sudden, because you were livid at what happened and why the anger. I mean, you seemed like you were losing your mind over that. Take us there. Take us through the anger that you were experiencing at a sandwich shop.
Okay, well, probably I'm a little unstable to begin with. So you have that. Then I went to something about her that opening day. The first couple of hours of my reporting went well, but I lost my mind.
At the very beginning, like when you there at 9 a.m. Like,
oh yeah. Well, people came for me for that. I think the store that day opened, I believe, at 10 a.m. Okay, so I got there probably at like 10:30. So people were already at me for that. They were like, you should have shown up at 8.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But the ladies that day had got there at 10, but they were doing like press for the first like hour. So they actually didn't even start serving sandwiches till 11. Okay, first couple of hours, it was fun. The line was moving. Everybody was having a good time. And then at about, I'm going to say 1:30, the line completely stopped. But where I lost it was the communication stopped. Like nobody from the sandwich shop, the girls like running it, nobody came out and said, okay, we're out of these 3 sandwiches, these 4 sandwiches. We're not going to be able to serve you all. By that time, they had stopped doing carry out. They'd moved into dine-in only, but they never notified us. There were women holding their babies, like waiting in line without any information. At this point, they'd stopped giving out water. There were no samples. There was no. So then like 3 o'clock comes, 3:30. They're closing at 4. So I finally go to the woman and I said, okay, what's the story here? There's 350 people in line. Are we getting sandwiches? Are we not? Are we getting coupons to come back the next day? Is there an email list? I don't know. I'll be right back. Okay. Comes back. We're out of every single sandwich but the PB&J, and we're definitely closing at 4. If you'd like to wait for a photo. I'm like, girl, what, you couldn't have told us this 2 hours ago? Combination of being very angry, and I stand by this. I mean, were
you like making videos throughout your entire experience, or was this at the end of the day you started like doing the?
I vlogged it from the beginning and like had other people in line. I had this whole thing. So I then at the end did this, like, I was pissed. I'm like, you guys didn't communicate. I didn't get a sandwich. There was no coupons. There's no email. You're losing business here. There's 400 people who would come back. look, they don't need my review. They don't need my business. They're doing fantastic.
But your review took off, and like all of a sudden it was like everywhere. I remember I think I saw it on the Daily Mail even, and that's my number one source of news. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? I mean, did Ariana or Katie reach out to you?
No, they blocked me. They blocked me.
Well, I mean, you did go, I mean, pretty hard on that, which I was like, oh, you're in like Sandoval's corner. You're like, but no. So did you ever go back? Did you ever get to taste an actual sandwich?
No, I haven't, because I'm worried, but I did ask Anne this, Anne from We Signed an NDA podcast into the show. I said, Anne, is there a photo of me in the kitchen with a red X? Because I want to go back in a disguise. And she was like, there's not a picture of you back there. Come back, I promise. And look, people love them. I hear the sandwiches are great. I would go in and give them a fair review. I just, you've been to a ton of openings. I will say this, and I stand by this. I was surprised for two women who are as famous and put together as they were. I don't think there was anybody there as a representative for them to really help them get organized. I don't know. I've just been to a lot of openings where there's a step and repeat. Usually the stars aren't actually physically making the sandwiches, or they do for a short period of time and then they're out, kissing babies, shaking hands. Yeah. It was strange to me the way that it was so disorganized. And
so you just think they weren't prepared for how many people were curious about it. So they weren't prepared for that many people actually giving a shit.
No way. There's no way they were prepared. No, not a chance. To even to be that busy, to then stop takeout orders, to then try to serve, you know how tiny the space is, to then go to serving like people in, sit down only, but not communicate that with your 350 people out there. It just felt to me a little disrespectful to fans. Like, hey, we want to make it look like we have this huge line, but we have no intention of serving you. And so I just have to be honest with my audience. Like, I just didn't think that was right.
No, but if somebody had given you like a bag of chips, would it have been more mellow for would it have been like more understandable?
That would have helped the blood pressure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I've been to Bobby Flay store openings or restaurant openings. I mean, usually they're walking around with a sample, they're communicating to you. Okay, they're saying like, all right, we're closing at 6. This is it. We're not doing real dining. It's a soft, launch. It was strange to me, but they're doing great. I hear the store is like,
no, I mean, I went months and months after it was open, and I got in easily at a Sam. It was great, but I was like, oh, I don't want to wait in line for hours on that first week. And, I was just like, I don't have that. I don't think I have that kind of time, and I don't think I would make good content. I mean, but you were making full content. And I just thought, once again, this is a great episode of Vanderpump Rules that we're not out there filming. Like,
amazing. And by the way, nobody's on my side. Everybody agrees with you by the way. And everyone told me, why did you go on opening day, bitch? Like, it's your fault. So, no one has any sympathy for me. So
Sarah, when you go into that situation, is there a part of you, I mean, you're really feeling this, but at the same time, you're like, I will say, I do notice that even like when people speak negatively about somebody else, that kind of drives clicks and downloads. Is there a part of you that leans in heavier in those situations? Because you're like, yeah, I'll make this a story then.
Oh, are you describing me as a hatrepreneur? Is that what you're telling me? Is that
that's a great, I've never heard that term, but I'm saying, well, I do like, even like I talk about
that's like a thing now.
I talk about this concept all the time. I don't think I have the balls to really, I mean, I'll go after certain reality stars in like a recap or something, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't usually fight for myself in situations, and I think you do. So, but I'm saying at the same time, is there a part of you that's like, listen, this is going to get people to my show eventually, and they're going to eventually like what they hear?
Well, I know what you're saying. And I feel like at times I definitely fall into that category. Because I will share my opinion. And I actually do sometimes have to, I think, moderate myself, because sometimes I'm often like, if a whole crowd agrees with something, I'm always like, I don't know, like I'm always a bit of a skeptic. But I think with them, I actually felt sincere about that, because, and I'm not really a huge Vanderpump fan. I became one with the whole Sandoval.
You're a huge sandwich fan.
I'm a huge sandwich fan. Yeah.
And that's where personally, as a sandwich fan, it offended you.
And I will say this, I am a person that has to eat like every 4 hours. So you shouldn't be in line at a sandwich shop.
I love you have like insulin out there. I mean, this was your September 11th. Like this is like things are going down. You're like, we were in line. We had no water. I didn't know there was no emergency services. We were all in the dark.
Fabulous way to put it. That was my September 11th. That was my 9/11, baby. Yep.
And by the way, every year you should celebrate this. Every year you need to do a recap of like where you were a year ago today, and then like 10 years into it, the documentary is still like what we've learned 10 years later,
Oh my God. And I even did merch, actually. I've got free samples, t-shirts.
Wait, what is your merch? Wait, what is your merch? What is, where is this on like sarahfraser.com?
Yeah, it's on Got Crafts. A fan of mine runs a craft shop, and she
Got Crafts?
GOTT crafts.com. She actually did a line of products for me because I lost it.
Free samples. What does it say?
One says take that, Sarah, because there was a meme account. Because after I did that
rant, somebody created a meme account making fun of you?
Yeah. After I did that rant, people are such diehard Ariana and Katie fans. The next day, though, Ariana gave out free samples. It's something about her. So people created meme accounts and said,
your
take
sacrifice
that, Sarah.
Did that. Now they're giving out samples because of your
gave out cookies.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay. When you start, we'll get on to Sister Wives in a second. But is there a part of your stomach that's like, besides being hungry, that's like, oh shit, like, oh, people are really taking this seriously. Like, do you get like scared to look at your phone when something pops off like that?
I guess I'm less now. I mean, I've been canceled in my career. I've been, I'm trying to think of other things I've gone viral for. Oh, I did a Doja Cat spoof once. People came for me over that. Felt like I was stealing her content, trying to be her, racist. I don't know. I've really had a lot.
People thought you were trying to be Doja Cat? Like you were.
Yeah. And they accused me of racism for doing a spoof. But then she was canceled because she was on 4chan using like some sort of Nazi. Yeah. So then people kind of backed off. Yeah, I've had a lot. Like I am not afraid of speaking like how I really feel. And I know sometimes that's going to be unpopular. So no, I didn't really back down on that one. Here's my merch, by the way, Ryan Bailey. Got free samples? I'm sending you one.
By the way, why did you choose to make the Sarah Fraser show about pop culture and reality TV? Like, why was that the thing that you wanted to hone in on?
I love it. I love when people come together over a moment of television, comedy, reality TV, new, story that makes headlines. I'm fascinated why people are fascinated by it. And then I find.
But are you personally fascinated by it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I can remember like specific Oprah episodes. Like to me, they were just such iconic pop culture moments. I mean, when Mackenzie Phillips came out on Oprah and talked about having sex with her dad. I mean, like pop culture it drives so much of our society, the way we think, the way we act, what we watch, what we wear. I'm so fascinated by it.
God, I don't think there'll ever really be like, that's what makes me sad about how big everything is now in terms of like where we get our media. There's never really going to be another Oprah. There's never going to be another Stern. Like we'll have our Rogans and things like that. But like there was a time and a place where Oprah was appointment television every day. People really trusted Oprah to like kind of walk us through. And she had this really great blend of insanity, pop culture, and Wendy Williams was the extreme of that. And even Wendy, we don't have anymore.
To your point, I think you're right. We're never going to have those shows because now in our business, right, there's no gatekeeper. Anybody can start. But, you couldn't just get on TV. You couldn't have a syndicated talk show like Oprah. I mean, there were so few people that made that call to change her life, I mean, yeah, you're right. But yes, I've always been so interested in moments like that. I mean, how dark is that? That's like, I guess I'm really interested in dark stuff, but
Well, no, well, listen, like Gypsy Rose, she has a reality series now, which I thought it was one of the best reality series of the year in terms of just how bizarre it was. And then we have Luigi, the healthcare killer. I was like, can we get this guy work release to be on Dancing with the Stars next? People have fallen in love with this guy. And true crime has turned into pop culture in such a big way. And now we've turned true crime into pop culture, into reality TV with Gypsy Rose. And even on Dancing with the Stars, we had Anna Delvey on this season, who obviously, went to prison or went to jail. And so it's really wild. Speaking of people that might eventually go to jail, I was Cody from Sister Wives. You've been covering Sister Wives for so long. And I think to me, it's I love watching Sister Wives every week. We don't cover it on the show, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it, of what is your take on Sister Wives? I think we're like a billion seasons into this thing, but what is your fascination with Sister Wives, and where do you think they are right now?
Okay, well, so many good questions. First of all, my fascination is, how many people do you know that are in a polygamous marriage?
Every one of my friends, polygamous marriage.
Ryan Bailey knows everything.
None.
Right. So, I mean, polygamy alone right there is like fascinating. How can one man, I mean, ask yourself. I asked my husband's like, I have all I can do to handle you. You think I want 3 more? I mean, like, how one guy had 4 wives. Now, of course, he didn't do it successfully. And now they admit on the show polygamy doesn't work. But fascinated by that. 18 kids. And for, the first like 8 seasons-ish, they were happy. They seemed like it was working. That was like their life goal, was to show America, like, hey, polygamy can work and is great. So that's the fascination. I love it. I enjoy the characters. Some people think it's like watching paint dry on that show, but
I think it sneaks up on you. I mean, it's just because we're so tuned into watching like Bravo, a certain type of pacing. I like the pace. I mean, I almost feel like it's like more independent film where it's slower but at the same time, I think it's more rewarding, and the payoff happens because you're so invested season after season that it gets richer as time goes on and these relationships fail.
100%. And you asked where we're at with it. I think we're at the peak. Last year was their highest rated season because, of course, all 3 of Cody's wives left him. The 4th one is still with him now. He says he's monogamous, but anyhow, so it was huge. But I think the irony is, right, we've hit a ratings high, but I think in a way we've hit like, where else can we go with this? None of these women speak to him anymore aside from Robin. He and Robin are so disliked, but yet the show is about Cody. So it's like, I think TLC is going to ride this train as long as they can. There's already a season 20 in the can. Who knows?
But obviously, because we have the death of one of the sons.
Garrison,
Well, I was a little confused because they showed Christine's wedding last season, and then all of a sudden we go back in time this season, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're now back. I don't know how many, like a year and a half or something, and we're watching Christine prep for that wedding that we already saw, and this is before that gentleman took his own life. But it's really interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, Cody provides that thing that we all love about reality stars, in that he learns nothing and accepts zero responsibility for his own faults as a man. Like, it's like, why did these ladies do this to me? They destroyed my relationships with my kids. And it's like, you could literally call your kids and apologize right now.
He's amazing television. Amazing. So I don't know. My thought is, I think it gets 3 more seasons. And then I think they're going to have, I just don't know where they're going to go with it, because, people have said, well, Christine and Janelle could get a spinoff together, but it's like, they don't live in the same state. They, now their kids are grown. So what are they going to do? Are we just going to see them in an RV? Traveling around?
I want a Thelma and Louise road trip where they eventually drive off, like literally over a canyon, and that can be the end of Sister Wives.
That could be it. It's like, I just don't see how a spinoff between the 2 of them could last. Now Mary seems to actually be like hitting her stride in life. She wants to date,
Mary where was she at? Like, she was at she went overseas and saw the
Stonehenge.
And she was like, Cody doesn't realize how important Stonehenge is to me. And I'm like, she's like, I saw a movie back like 20 years ago about, and I thought it was like this beautiful moment, but I was like, of course Mary's into Stonehenge. Of course this is like a big moment for Mary of like being moved by Stonehenge. And that's why I love this show, is how realistic, like, you know, we all like love that one thing that people are like, oh, really, Stonehenge? And then, but now, and also Cody, that scene where he's saying goodbye to Mary and starts tearing up.
Oh my God. I mean, right. And to your point there, a man with zero awareness, like he's had 7 years to come to her and say everything he said, but after she's already moved out, it's like, that's such a man thing to do, you know, like,
and then he goes,
like,
I guess we can be best friends now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then the two friends there, they're like, it's so painful. They can't watch. They're like hiding because they're like, so, and then the guy was like, you drank a lot of emotional bullshit juice, Cody. He's like, sorry, I had to do it, brother. And then Cody hops into his really expensive Lexus. You know, poor Mary can barely pay anything. And Cody's like, peace.
Peace, drops the top, and then just like peace. Yeah, the show is amazing. It's like, it's so good. And I want his next series with the kids. Like, I love the kids. They all have different political beliefs. They all, like, some are gay, some are straight, some are in between. I mean, I'm like, that's the show. I want to see that.
I mean, it would be interesting, and it is interesting to watch Christine and like a lot of these women really hit their strides completely away from Cody. It's almost like Cody was the element holding a lot of them back. So it's really interesting for Christine to actually be in love with somebody that's like that. That's what, like, she's all horny all the time. She's like, we're crazy. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, obviously Christine had not been touched in a while. And you just, it's like when Kyle was around Morgan Wade last season getting a tattoo. It's that same excitement.
100%. You nailed it. 100%. Yeah. I mean, and for those of us that have watched Sister Wives for a long time, I mean, Christine used to be, and they say it all the time, like she was buttoned up, wasn't into tattoos, wasn't into drinking, never wanted to talk about sex. And now she's like horned up. I mean, the poor David, he like walks in the room, she's like stripping him with her eyes. She's like, hey, baby. We have to see her like tongue kiss him for like, we're like, oh my God.
Even the kids. Like,
the kids are like, oh
my God. He was
I mean,
like, they're making their Frito pies or whatever, like the weird like recipes they make as a family. There was some recipe the other week that like put pineapple in it. I was like, what the hell is going on over here? But to each their own. Do you think Robin will ever leave Cody, or do you think Cody's got Robin on like lockdown?
Lockdown. I think they're madly in love. You know, outside of the show, they just purchased a $2.1 million home in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Okay.
Which
I wanted to ask you about this because you actually were talking about how much Coyote Pass is worth.
And Coyote Pass just sold for $1.7 million cash from a Vegas buyer.
So Coyote Pass is no longer. It's never going to be the Mecca.
Sorry. Okay, their home, it's not Coyote Pass. The home that you see that's been filmed the past 3 or 4 years in Flagstaff, that home sold for 1.7. Coyote Pass has been valued now for tax purposes at 1.3 million. It is still owned by Robin, Janelle, Mary, and Cody. So as far as we know, it hasn't been sold. There is this kind of underlying rumor that Cody and Robin will buy out Janelle and Mary, but at least from everything, you know, because people are constantly like, you know, looking for the public documents, everybody's name is still on it. So it doesn't look like that's happened. But then in the meantime, they sold that Flagstaff, Arizona house, and they've purchased a new home for 2.1 million. And people are like flabbergasted at how much money they apparently have.
Did Cody need a bigger space for his ego? I mean, why did they, because that last house seemed kind of nice. Why did they move, do you think?
I think it's for his hair products, don't you? I mean,
he has less and less hair, so I don't know if that's going to take up as much space. I mean, I saw something on TikTok the other day I didn't realize Cody's primary job, he sells guns.
Yeah, he's been a long time. He sells gun accessories. Yeah, for many, many years. And he was actually for a long time president of a gun company that sold accessories and guns, but I believe he stepped down from that and now just sells at these shows.
I'm Cody Brown, the president of a gun. Well, I mean,
isn't it weird? Because you see him and I also just don't picture him like holding a gun. Do you? Like, he just doesn't seem all that.
No, he seems like,
I don't know.
He tries to present as very masculine, and I really am interested to see how Cody moves through the world without cameras on him, because I mean, Cody is like Jax Taylor in a lot of ways. Like, it's just, he's very watchable and he doesn't seem like he'll ever truly learn. At least Jax has gotten to a point where he bullshits us and he's like, I'm a flawed individual. I'm a work in progress. Cody never seems to get to that place where he realizes he has work to do on it. He works more on his hair than his personality.
Completely, right? And I mean, 19 seasons. I mean, we're now getting to the point, Sister Wives is one of the longest running reality TV shows. Aside from like Survivor.
A lot of people are just getting into it right now, which is wild when you're like, dude, you have so much to catch up on.
So much. And to your point, you would think after 19 seasons of people coming for you that you would do like what Jax is doing. 0 from Cody.
No, I don't understand it at all. But Robin, if you say like they're locked down, they're in love, Robin always seems miserable. Is that an act for the camera in your opinion? Or is it just, she feels misunderstood? And she also feels like she was committed to polygamy. Does she really want to go with just this one? She wanted to grow old with her sister wives on her front porch.
Okay. So much to unpack there. First of all, the other wives, and I 100% believe them, Janelle, Christine, and Mary have always said that Robin, even though it might not even be out of like evil, is a manipulator. Like that is kind of how she survived. It's that sort of victim mentality. So I believe them. I think this season and last has been the most empathy I've ever had for Robin, because I do think I finally understand like, oh, Robin actually loves polygamy. Like even though Robin is like benefiting more than the other women, in Robin's mind, I think I've seen over these 2 seasons, like, that's not the way Robin saw it. She just thought that like, well, you can't control Cody. I can't make him do stuff, but she like loves the idea of polygamy. So I at least empathize with her. I think she's mourning that they aren't going to be polygamous. Like it's not going to happen. It's not happening, whether it was the show that ruined them or Cody or whatever. So I mean, Robin's like one of my dream interviews because I just am like, what is going on in that head?
Yeah, what would you ask Robin? Like, what would you ask Robin, or how would you phrase things to get her to open up and talk?
Well, I would do it exactly what you had said. Like, Robin, okay, at least from the show from 19 seasons, we've not seen you and Cody do a lot of self-reflection. Have you? Have you two really done therapy outside of this show? Tell us tell us something. We never see you happy, to your point. What is something in life that brings you joy, that like you smile about? I just feel like at this point, we don't know them in any other context than just being these self-loathing victims. And maybe that's just who they are. But like, it's just hard. You don't really see them. And it's probably for a reason. You don't see them doing a lot of interviews. And it's probably because who they are in the show is who they are in real life. And so, the network doesn't want too much of that out there. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but they don't seem to do many interviews.
Is it true that Janelle got a lawyer involved to get her money back from Cody?
Yes. On the show this season, she has consulted with a lawyer to make sure that when and if Coyote Pass is sold, that she gets her share. Yes, that's been on the show and true.
Do you think when they actually get to the season where they do deal with the sons passing away, will there ever, I mean, I just keep thinking, and this is a very dark thought, but I keep thinking Cody, sells guns, grew up around guns, and like, I would imagine got his kids, into guns and things like that. I wonder if there is any kind of self-reflection on that as well, of like that guns, really can harm people when they're in bad situations. Or I'm just so curious how the show will handle it when it gets to that story.
Fantastic question. Yeah. Will there be some self-reflection there? Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this has been so sad, so devastating for that family. Now, Sister Wives is also getting a record number of episodes. 26 episodes. So this show is going until like February or March. It's now on for almost an entire year.
Right. Amazing.
There's a lot of talk. Like, will they do a Garrison special? Will they do
an
interview to him? I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to see it.
Okay, now moving on to back to Bravo, we're ending this. OC's done. We're weeks. It's been over for weeks. Where did you land with Alexis Bellino, John Jansen, Shannon Bedore? How did you come out on that. And I saw Alexis and John Jansen last night, so they're very much still together. I'm curious what's going to happen next season if they're going to be asked back. But where did you stand personally watching that?
I loved it. I thought this season was unbelievable. I love going into a season. I was fully prepared to hate on Shannon Bedore. Hate. I'm like, how is this woman nearly 60 years old with these 3 beautiful children getting into a car hammered when she has enough money for an Uber, endangering her life, Archie's life, the life of her daughters, their future? Like, what the F is wrong with this one? I was like fully prepared to hate. She seems like she never holds herself accountable. And then of course I'm like, oh my God, I'm Team Shannon. Like, I love the accountability, the owning it, the confrontation, the willingness to be, at the time anyway, in the room with Alexis.
Yeah, putting yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, like, loved Shannon. So Shannon's back. I didn't even anticipate to dislike Tamra as much as I disliked Tamra.
I know, me either.
Right?
And it's interesting because I always think of the psychology, like, does Tamara think she's doing the show a favor by going that hard? Or is there an ego involved where that's how she actually really feels? Like, I wonder, Tom Sandoval did an interview with the New York Times a couple years ago where he was explaining, he's like, I always feel like I'm on reality TV. I live my life in 3 ways: the actual scene, talking heads, and then audience reaction. And I was like, that's such a weird way to go through like life, of now you think everything is a reality show. Like, it's a sickness almost. And I think when these people have been on TV so long, they start thinking in a different way.
So do you think Tamara's there? You think Tamara has that?
I think she thinks, I mean, and by the way, she also, I mean, it's almost like doing steroids. She does a podcast about Housewives and Bravo. Like, it's very, like, she studies this stuff. She talks about other shows. She talks about these ladies and the moves they make. So you have to then think she's thinking about the same way in terms of her own show and the career.
No, good point. Here's the thing. I'm actually curious don't you want to see what John and Alexis would be like with a good edit? Like, with
at a soup kitchen on like Christmas, giving out like what's a good edit for that?
My God. Well, fair enough, right? I mean, they did, Alexis did bring in like the whole, well, John has this video of you, Shannon, and we're prepared to use it. I don't know. They say they're in love. They fell in love naturally. The only thing we've ever seen John this whole entire season is this shady lawsuit that he sort of held out till the end to settle with Shannon. So I don't know. I mean, I would just be curious to see, because people really wanted Alexis back, right? We really wanted Alexis back in the mix. Like, what would it be like if Alexis and John were like happy-go-lucky and Shannon had moved on? Like, is there a way? But the more I go on, I'm leaning towards they're not coming back.
I mean, I think it's really, I'm very curious. And that's the stuff as I get more into this, I'm so curious about the discussions behind the scenes. Like, who makes that final call? Is it Alex Baskin? How many hours of conversation do you go back and forth? Or is it real cut and dry of like, nah, she's out, moving on? Like, and by the way, because on Salt Lake City, I hope they do 0 cast changes next season. I hope there's
none. We have the incredible cast. It is Salt Lake has the greatest luck of all time. I mean, to lose Jen Shaw, incredible character, then replace her with Von Teese, amazing for a season. Then we thought, oh, this is going to be awful without Von Teese. Now we've got Bronwyn, even better. It's something in the water in Salt Lake. It just like gets better and better.
Brittany Bateman is a great newbie in a different way. Like, I mean, it's so unaware in certain ways, and that's what you want, to like unaware people. I was telling, I got to meet Angie Katsunavis last night, and I just flat out told her, I said, there is no reason your show should be this good this season. I said, I bet against your show, because I thought there's no way after the Monica Garcia that you'd be able to come back. And she also told me that she cried. I said, you just got thrown out of Meredith's bat mitzvah. And she was like, I cried for 3 days after that. I was like, you did? You cried for 3 days after you got bounced from Meredith's religious ceremony?
Wow. Really? It was that devastating to her.
That's what she said. I mean, and they did the reunion this past weekend, and they said, Whitney told me last night that it's truly insane, and that they were able to finally lay down a lot of their bullshit and have real conversations. And it sounded like that led to a lot of friction. So I think it's like, I mean, I don't want to but it sounds like it's going to be really good.
Oh, this season has been Amazing. It's now one of my top. I mean, it pains me to say this because I lived in the DC area for so long. So the Potomac girls are I ride for them so hard. But it's between Salt Lake and Beverly Hills now for me. It's just so good.
Well, I mean, it's hands down, it's Salt Lake. Salt Lake's the show that even if I didn't talk about it, I would be so excited to watch it I'm so excited that we get to watch it tonight. Like I'm trying to like get all of my work done so I can enjoy like a 43-minute television show that I'll talk about for hours and hours. But like, thank God. It's like they give us something. They make our job exciting.
You're absolutely right. And I would be so curious the casting discussions they're having for RHOC. Because it was great. It was great to have Alexis and John back and hate on that situation. I don't know. I'm really curious, but I love RHOC. I love the direction it's headed.
Who do you personally like? And do you have people that you really dislike? Are you open about that when you talk about it in your show? Like, I hate this person, or like, who do you really, really like and who do you dislike?
I try to have grace for everybody because I try to say, thank you for putting yourself on reality TV because you are at the mercy of an edit. You are. It's not saying that you don't say those things, but you're at the mercy of an edit. I try to have grace for people. I will say Bethany Frankel has tested my last nerve this year. Like I really struggled.
We need to get her at something about her. We need a something. I'm shocked, Brittany. I'm shocked Bethany didn't reach out to you and go, girl, yeah, I'm in true admiration right now.
Well, she won't because I would say I rag on Bethany the most. So I don't see any olive branch coming there. I genuinely like most of the women. I would say this. I find Tamra, and I want to give her another chance because I never really disliked her until this season. So I'm trying to say to myself, is it? But I don't know, I've had Jim Bellino on and then Gretchen Rossi. And like now people are really coming out and saying, oh, she's been awful and hit so low below the belt for so long and would run anyone over with a bus to stay on that show. So now I'm sort of like, ugh, do I like?
Well, that's what I wonder at what point we're going to have a Tamra takedown season where that's why I was like, oh, maybe bring back Gretchen, maybe bring back like people that will go up against Tamra because Tamra's really good at like, putting the heat on somebody else. But when the light shines on her, I mean, she's really in the driver's seat a lot of the time. I think she's very savvy in that way. So you respect it from like a survivor type stance, but she's never truly had to deal with like a season of heat like Shannon Bedore did.
Oof, I know. Yeah. So to your point, is that coming? Is that coming? Could Gretchen and Slade be back?
As we close out on 2024, what were the proudest moments this year in terms of your podcast and your interviews? Because you don't only cover these shows, like you do reach out to some really interesting guests. I was saying like the Jussie Smollett, the two guys that were a part of that scam that they say Jussie hired them to
attack Jussie. Attack Jussie.
You just had them on. Like, so how does your mind work? Is that one of the ones you're proud of for this year? And what are the other ones that stick out in your mind?
For me, I don't know about you. I feel like you have good instincts. I have to feel it. Like I'll read stories and something in me will be like, oh, I need to ask this person a question. Let's reach out. So two moments stand out. One was with Drake Bell from Nickelodeon, and he's now
the Quiet on the Set docuseries came out this year.
He gave me the exclusive interview after that documentary dropped, and that really catapulted my show to get national attention I had never gotten ever before. I'd never been written about in Variety or The Hollywood Reporter or anything like that. And so he really, and to this day, he just came back on my show. Actually, it's going to air in the next couple of weeks. And I was so grateful to him because he didn't have to do that. And I was really proud of that. I was proud the way I handled it because I was told I only had 20 minutes with him and about 7 or 8 questions that were pre-approved. And he talked for an hour and 20 minutes. So I give myself credit because I'm like, how did you keep going for?
I mean, and because usually the PR people are there or they're on the line. Were you getting notes of like, end it?
No, the PR person didn't show up. There was no. So it was like one of those dream, this feeling.
That PR person got fired. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they're working together anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even think they thought, I don't even know that they really thought like we're giving Sarah the exclusive. I think it just like happened and they were fine with it. But I don't know that it ever even laid out that way. And then it was full circle to have Mary Brown. She was on my show this year. And that was just great because, I think you understand this as a fan of some of these individuals. It's so cool to just sit there with them and be like, oh my God, I get to ask you questions. Like, what is it like to be in this space, and what is Cody really like? What about your sister wives? What is it about polygamy that was attracted you? So those were two really big moments I'm very proud of. The other thing is too, is I just actually launched a podcast course, and I'm really proud of that too, because I know it took me 8 years to get to a place where it's a living, you know, I'm making money, and I want to
How do
show
you teach
people how to do that.
podcasting?
I have 3 courses. One is a podcasting 101, which is just really how you plug in the mic, where you should record, where you should publish your show. Podcasting for pros is how you can start to monetize and grow your show. And then I have a 6-figure master plan, which is really how I ramped up and started making thousands of dollars a month and made this a full-time job. And I've just known so many podcasters over the years that have given up, not because they didn't have great content, but they didn't know how to monetize. And we're in the wild, wild west. So what I love about this business is there are no gatekeepers. And if I can help somebody create a show, monetize, make it a hobby, make it their life. I've had the joy of doing that. So it kept kind of sticking in my stomach, like, you should do this, you should do this. And so we'll see. It's new. I want people's feedback. But we'll see where it goes. But I really love the business side of this too.
You just need a course on teaching people how to listen to podcasts. My dad doesn't even know how to do it. Like, you're just like, here, press play on this. And like, just listening to podcasts for beginners would be a great course.
That's actually, okay, maybe I'll launch that for 99 cents. I'll show you how to find a podcast and listen.
Okay. Dream guest for 2025, you know, Mary or like Cody would be great, obviously, for you. And
Cody and Robin.
So who else would be on your list? Who makes you feel things?
Cody and Robin are dream guests. I actually don't want Gypsy Rose Blanchard. I want the husband, Ryan Anderson, the ex.
Oh, dude, I've reached out to Ryan before. Like, what's up, bro? Like, he doesn't even check. I mean, I gotta be a hot girl for him to check the DM, but you know.
Oh, is that it? Maybe I should send him a topless. All right. Well,
wait, did you ever watch Ryan's TikTok lives?
Oh my God. Yes. I've caught a couple of them, and just him like,
and then like him thank you for the cowboy hat. Thank you. Like him, like, you know, cause they give you like little gifts, you know, and you're like, he's talking about dramatic things. He's like, thank you for the mustache. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see who else. Oh my God. You know who I'm kicking myself? I should have reached out a year ago. I'm obsessed with Trisha Paytas, who's now like having the best, like in love with her.
I mean, it is interesting. Like, if you keep, I mean, she's gone through so many different phases, and now all of a sudden everything came up Trisha and all came together in the last month. And now people are like openly celebrating her, even though she's been a part of internet culture for, you know, close to 2 decades.
This is what I'm kicking myself. Like 2 years ago, when she was like in a low, I've been a fan for so long. I actually called a cake maker. I wasn't living in LA at this time. It was actually more than 2 years ago. And I wanted him to make a bust of her face and send it to her house to be a guest. He wouldn't do it. He wasn't a fan of hers. And like, I just kind of gave up, and I always kick myself for that. Cause I'm like, Sarah, you could have had Trisha years ago, probably, if you'd stuck with it. She's a girl that loves cake. So do I. And I'm just kicking
who are ones to watch then? Is there anybody that you follow? You're like, oh, that's a person to watch in the future. Like, that's a person to keep the pulse of up and comers.
Okay. Do you probably don't follow Brianna Chicken Fry, like do you follow Plan Brie and Grace?
But I'm very aware of the Zach and the Grace O'Malley and all that, the mess.
I think Grace and Brie are going to be 2 people to watch. I think they're going to be real voices, in whatever they decide to do in the next year. Who else do we see happening? Trying to think of, God, that's a fabulous question. Those 2, I feel like I get the feels about. Oh, and if the Menendez brothers get out of jail, they will dominate 2025.
I'm really curious though, if their chances just got completely devastated by George Gascon not being reelected and Gavin Newsom. Like, I mean, I think they were so close to being released, and I'm just so curious if they lost that heat, you know, like that Netflix series hit and it was really big. I feel like they got to really win at the Golden Globes and the Emmys for like the Netflix series. And if they do, that'll keep that kind of pop culture heat on them.
I think it's inevitable. I think with their story, I just think they're getting out in the next year, even with Nathan Hochman taking over here in LA as the district attorney. I think they've served their time. You know what I mean? They've been in jail, 30
35
years,
plus
30.
years. Yeah.
You know, these aren't two men that are going to go out and repeat this. You know, they did this out of the abuse that they suffered. I think people are pretty sympathetic to that now. Yes, they should not have murdered their parents. Same with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But I do think they've served their time. And I think when they get out, they will dominate pop culture for a good several months.
Who's going to explain Bitcoin to these guys? Who's going to explain? I mean, there's so many. This first cyber truck that they see, they're going to like lose their minds potentially. Okay, so as we end here, Beverly Hills is on right now. Is there any predictions you have for the rest of the season? Last night, Dorit and Kyle kind of mended fences a little bit, but then it got really like Dorit's really participating this season. Do you have any predictions?
God, that's so good. You know, do I have any predictions? I don't. You know, the audience is really turned on Kyle. Are they going to turn on Kyle to the point we could see a Bravo potential shakeup? I don't know.
There's no way. Kyle will decide when she leaves that show. Kyle will decide. I mean, they might have a come to Jesus moment with Kyle where they're saying like, you know, you saw how we did with Dorit. You got to like really come out like with everything. You got to let us know what the Morgan situation. You just got to let us know. Or because I feel like they're just going to come at her all season. They're going to try to yank her into the light all season saying, you got to be honest. You got to be honest.
Do we think we could see a Dorit and PK reconciliation? You know, that rumor's out there that they've staged this.
Dude, I talked to Carlos King about this last night because I think on his podcast said this, and I go, look at you. I said, making the news. And I said, because I like Carlos a lot, but I said I don't believe I don't believe that piece of gossip. I think they've had problems for many years. I think Dorit's just actually being honest about it now because the show asked her, like, hey, you got to be honest about it. But I don't believe it's all financial and they're doing this. I don't know. Part of me thinks that PK really wants to be single PK. And I think he is threatened by somebody that is in the public eye in a way that I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like male bullshit wrapped up with PK.
What did Carlos say when you said that? What was his answer?
He was like, listen, it's what I heard, but I understand. I didn't think that was going to get like, I was like, come on. You thought it was going to, you knew that was going to take off. Like I said, but I want to believe it. But I said, you usually are really reputable with what you say. I just don't know if I buy that one.
Yeah, I mean, I've fallen for that too much. Like for a long time, I thought the Kyle and Mo thing wasn't real, even the Jax and Brittany. But then I'm like, oh no, it's real. It's all real. Every time I think it's not, it turns out to be real. So I'm with you. I think it's.
I don't think the Mauricio Dorit rumors are real.
No,
like somebody put that out. I was like, that's bull. She didn't get caught coming out of Mauricio's high rise.
Yeah, she's not leaving Mauricio's high rise. No, I want to see Erica Jane date. I want to see her get that billionaire again. Like I want to see some fun-ish.
I want to see her have sex. I want to watch her have sex. I want to watch her like in an OnlyFans situation. Like I want to see what that's all about.
She would crush OnlyFans. She should. And she should get like
you know what? I would be so curious what she would make on OnlyFans. Do we know how much Denise Richards has made on OnlyFans?
Oh, I mean, a freaking fortune. A fortune.
I want to know though, like how, like, I mean, is it really like, because we know for like, you know, the younger OnlyFans models, like somebody said they made $43 million this year on OnlyFans. What is Denise Richards pulling in?
I feel like I read it a while ago, but I can't remember what it was. But I feel like it was like, okay, I'm not going to say it because I don't even think it's right. But I would love to see EJ on OnlyFans. I would. And she could get actors that could pretend to be lawyers and have dementia and be robbing people. And, you know, she could be doing them. I mean, right? There's so many storylines she could do with the old, you know, Tom Girardi. Someone could come in, beat up Tom Girardi, and she could have sex with the guy that beats him up. You know, like.
Will Mikey Minden have to choreograph her sex scenes on OnlyFans?
Mikey seems like he's ready, though, doesn't he? He doesn't seem like it's a stretch.
No, Mikey's like, girl, hold that ass right there. You are looking fierce. Oh my God, Erica. Oh my God. Well, okay. We could talk all day. I know you are very busy. So the Sarah Fraser Show is every day. We want to subscribe. We want to rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We also sell merch to highlight some of Sarah's greatest hits at sandwich shops this year. But we'll put all that in the show notes. Is there anything else coming up that we can support you with?
No, that is it. I mean, I'm so thrilled to meet you, and I just loved having you on my show. I really want to do more of these.
Yeah, we'll keep. I mean, hey,
with you.
2025, the sky's the limit. So this is it's been a real treat to meet you and work with you a little bit at the end of the year, and let's see what 2025 holds for both of us.
Absolutely. Bigger things to come, because Ryan, you are truly, it's hard to meet good men in this entertainment business, and you're really one of them. And believe me, I've worked with some horrible ones.
You're like, Ryan, it's you and Jim Bellino, both great men, amazing.
Fabulous.
Anyways, okay, go subscribe to Sarah's show and go listen to the episode we did and to break you in, and then go listen to all the great interviews, okay? And we'll talk to you very soon, Sarah.
Thanks, Ryan.